Secondarily
we
recorded.
each day. You know how much money this brings in?
I'm not beginning you reading it, Kenny. I even read it when you weren't here.
Good.
But you don't have to memorialize it in Zoom.
That's how it gets recorded. That's how it gets recorded for the show. Learning and with the Ashir as well. Learning sponsors a year of learning Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife Malka Chana Bat Pinchas, friends of Herb Jeremiah, Tzvi Ben Zeb, friends of Sam Coleman, Shmuel Ben Yaakov, friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir, Bella and David Adler in memory of her father Eliyahu Ben Yosef Kohen, those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Esther Malka Bat Meshulam Yisachar, Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza Bat Yosef Chaim Bachava, Hanan Ben Moshe Eliezer Vachana, Pesha Bat Shmuel Yitzchak Halevi V'Tzipora, Yisra Ben Yoel Moshe Cohen Vachana, Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir, Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim, Masha Brana, in memory of her husband, Haravi Rachmiel Ben Shmuel, friends and family of Arthur Ritholz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen, A Month of Learning by Charlie Gelfenstein in memory of his mother, Dacia Gilbert Meir Halevi, Charlie Gelfenstein again in memory of his father, Meir Ben Yaakov, Ruvain and Susan Podolsky in memory of his mother, Freda Bat Shraga Feivel, B. Pizer, in memory of her sister, Rivka Bat Avram Michael Halevi. And that is it for today. May the Shemis have an Aliyah, Crank, Rafia, Vati, Yeshiva, Shemot, Wheel, and Israel, a good gebench jar.
Bob.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, I still got the room.
I stopped by Tunnel about
Yeah, I know where you. I was here yesterday.
somebody's. I apologize, but I was interrupted. I'm sure you got on.
That just happens.
Ruvain said he was watching you and you were taking delight.
No, I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of your use of the term pole instead of beam. And I've thought one glass ship was named Scotty and one was named Kirk. You know why?
Because they were being.
It was always beam me up, Scotty. Right?
Right? I'll give you, I'll tell you something. On television yesterday, since this is the time of Kratzvah and people carry trees on their car roofs. And there was a whole.
And somebody poked you with his.
No. Let me finish saying. I'm saying that they were citing the Gemara.
Right.
I mean, how the tree, which way should it be? Lengthwise.
Well, it should be lengthwise because otherwise it
opens up, like an umbrella.
Okay, gentlemen, we're going to start on Lamed Bet Amud Beis. I don't know what the number is in Art Scroll. I'm assuming it's 32B, right? 1.
32B1.
Tanu Rabbanan, we're about 1, 2, 3. 15 lines from the top of the Amud. Okay. All right. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, Hanichnas lechanuto shel nagar shelo b'reshut is where we're going to start. Okay. So the individual enters the store of the carpenter without permission. Okay. The workshop. Okay. And then there flies off a wood chip. Okay, v'tafcha al panav, and it strikes the person in the face, v'meit, and they die. Patur, the nagar, the carpenter is not liable. Okay, Michael, come on. V'im nichnas b'reshut, but if the person entered with the permission of the carpenter into the store, the workshop, what happens? Chayav, then he would be liable. Okay, mai chayav. What do we mean by liable? Amar Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Chanina, he says, Chayav ba'ar b'dvarim, upatur migalut. He would be Chayav in nezek, tzar, ripui, v'shevet. Okay, those are the 4 things, but he would be exempt from having to go into galus. Now, this is going to be the major question, as the Gemara is going to continue now with a discussion. What can we bring sources that would show? How can you say that he's exempt from galus? okay, and then go back and forth on that particular topic, right? Lafisha ein domeh liya'ar, because it's not similar to the example of Ya'ar. Okay, Ya'ar is in Dvarim, chapter 19, verses 5. Okay, where it goes in, where it talks about we saw two people enter the forest. Each is able to go in. It's their
Only one came out.
each is each considers it their own domain. And what happens, the axe blade flies off the axe, strikes the person in the head, kills them, etc. So from that situation, this is where the Torah derives. I would have had a chumash, I would have read it, but you should have it there in a note if you're using Art Scroll. Okay, and therefore, as a result, that's where they derive this situation, right? But it says the Gemara Lafisha ain domeliyah, but it's not similar to the example, to the model, okay, in Ya'ar. Why? Ya'ar zel rishuto nichnas, v'zel rishuto nichnas. So here again, we see what's happening, that in this case, right, one enters through because it's partly his domain, another is his rishus, another enters, it's his domain. Zel rishus chavero nichnas. And in that situation, one entered into the domain, the rishus of the other one. Okay, and that's when the incident happened. Okay, all right, so what happens now in clarifying? Okay, we're going to see. So that's the answer the Gemara gives. Why the situation with the carpenter is not the same. Okay, but we're going to see a challenge now in that regard with the following. Ma Rava, so Rava Kal V'chomer. We can learn this instead based on a Kal V'chomer. Uma Ya'ar Zeh L'Da'ato Nechnas. Okay, whereas in regards to the situation of Ya'ar, we see that he entered that domain with knowledge, with forethought. Okay, V'zeh L'Da'ato Nechnas. And the second person also entered that area, okay, with advanced knowledge and forethought. Okay, we say that is similar to a situation that one enters the property, the rishus of his neighbor, and therefore would require, in an act of murder, okay, right, would require exile, right? Zeh sheladat chavero nichnas. Here, in this case, where the person enters, okay, right? Lo kol shekain, isn't all the more so that in our example of the carpenter, since the person's entering the workshop or the store of whatever of the carpenter, all the more so. So shouldn't the carpenter then, if the wood chip flies off and hits the person and kills them, shouldn't that person therefore, okay, the carpenter be liable and have to do galus, right? Ella rather. So we come up with an alternative. Okay, Amar Rava. So Rava says now in a different way. My patur galut. What do we mean when we say that he's exempt from galut? Why? The lo sagi le begalut. That the idea of exile is not sufficient. It's not an adequate punishment in this situation, as he's going to bring us another example. V'hainu tama de Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Bar Chanina. And this is the reasoning that's presented by Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina. Mishum dahavile shogeg karov lemezid. Okay, because that's a situation. We have a situation there in the example of the carpenter. He's saying where we have an example of a situation where galut is only really for unintentional killing. Okay, and here this murder is too close to being intentional. That's what we're saying here. Okay, we're going to get to that in a second. How do we know that? Okay, Meitiv Rava. Okay, Rava is going to challenge it and give the following. All right, example. Hosif lo ritzua achat. If we have another situation, he's going to give an example where the court agent who is required to provide malchus gives more than one additional strike, more than the number that was determined by the court for the person to be punished, to be able to receive, okay, then we're going to see what happens, umate, and that person receiving this punishment dies, harezeh, that court agent, goleh al yado, must then go into exile under those circumstances. Okay? So the Gemara raises the question there. Vaha, but there in that case, hacha, the shogeg karov lamezidhu. Okay, we say that is a situation where it may have been accidental, but it was close to intentional, right? Why? Because the court agent, the ibaye asuke adate, he should have kept it was necessary for him to pay attention and to keep his mind on what he was doing, says the Gemara. Okay? Demaite inish bechadaratsua. Okay? That it's possible that a person could die with one extraneous striking.
Just a question. Wouldn't there be somebody?
We're going to get to that in the Gemara.
But this arba'im chasa.
Well,
No,
right, we'll get to that in the
I
Gemara,
know.
right? Ukatani. But it's taught in that particular case, nevertheless, hare zegoleh, that the agent of the court nevertheless is liable and receives a punishment of exile. Amar Rav Simi Minahadeya. He says, what is his answer there? The Taiba Mariana. Okay, that maybe the person who was the court agent who was doing the actual striking, okay, he erred in the number of count. Wait a second, says the Gemara. Kafachle Rabba Besandle. Rabba slaps Rav Simi in the leg. Okay. In other words, he kicks him under the table, so to speak. All right. All right.
Basically, he gets his.
Amarle, he said to him, Atu Humani. Since when is he the one who does the counting? I'm going to translate it. Vahatanya. But don't we have a Braita that teaches us elsewhere? Gadol Shabadayanim Kore. That the senior or elder of the judges is the one who calls out. Right? Vahasheni Moneh. And the second one does the actual counting.
He reads the psukim
Right.
of getting mal.
Vahashlishi Omer Hikahu. And it's the third one who says to strike. Right? Ela Amar Rav Simi Midahadeya. The Ta'a Daine Gufe. Says Rav Simi ben Adeya. It's where the judge himself makes the mistake. Right? Now, that would seem to indicate, coming back at this point, that maybe that carpenter should get the punishment of exile, because basically we see maybe that's a parallel to the example of the court agent, where we said that was a situation of shogeg close to Mazin, Meitive. But we're going to challenge this example with another Braita, says the Gemara. Hazorek et ha'evan l'rishus harabim, one who throws a stone into the public domain, v'harag, and kills someone, hare zegoleh. In that case, all right, again, the punishment is exile. V'hahacha, but here, says the Gemara, in this case, the shogeg karov lamezidhu. But that's clearly an example, okay, says the Gemara, of unintentional but close to intentional act. This the ibai le asuke adate, the bereshus harabim shchiche inshe. Why? Because we say that the person should have been paying closer attention, examine the situation, because in the public domain, there's a significant number of people, right? Ukatani, and yet, nevertheless, I'm going to fit in here, we teach hare zegoleh. He gets the punishment of exile. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Yitzchak. Okay. No, he says what happened in that situation was the following: Besoter et kotlo. He was destroying and knocking down a wall, and a stone from the wall flew. Okay, maybe it was right on the edge of the roadway. Okay, okay, and the stone fell or flew into the public domain in that situation. Ibaile iyune, says the Gemara. It was necessary that he should have been giving close attention. He should have been examining the situation. Says the answer, Besoter Balayla. He was knocking down, destroying the wall at night. Right? So the Gemara says, Balayla nami baile iyune. At night also he should have been closely examining the situation. Besoteret kotlo biyom la'ashpa. So maybe it was that he was knocking down the wall during the day, okay, to become a trash heap. Okay, hi ashpa hechidami. Okay, so what's an ash? What's a
He was
trash?
throwing the stones into the.
Okay, or converting the area. Okay, that's my. Okay, into a trash pile. How is that possible? Asks the Gemara. If it's a location where a lot of people pass by, then it's an active mezid. And if there aren't a lot of people there, then we're going to say it's basically an accident. And okay, so why then should he, under those circumstances, get exile? And how can you compare it back to our initial example, our initial situation of the carpenter, right? Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, lo tzricha. Okay, we're going to read that in. No, it wasn't necessary, Ella, but rather, ba'ashba hasuya v'hipanot balayla. It was a trash heap that was being used for people to relieve themselves at night. Okay, ve'ena asuya lihipanot bayom, but it was not commonly used by people to relieve themselves during the day. Ve'ika demakre v'yativ. Okay, and here we can say what happens. By chance, people might come and sit there.
In other words,
Okay.
people do use it occasionally.
Well, mazid lo have, and therefore we have to say it certainly wasn't an intentional act. Because it wasn't usually used as a place to relieve oneself during the day. Anus namilo. But on the other hand, it wasn't necessarily totally an accident. Why? All right, having daha'ika de mikre v'yativ. Because it was a situation where people would occasionally come by chance to sit and relieve themselves there. Now, Rav Papa Mishmei the Rabba Matne La Aresha. We see that Rav Papa, in the name of Rabba, taught this on the first part of the statement of the Mishnah, right? Hanichnas, and now we're going to cite that part of the Mishnah again that he applied the situation. Hanichnas lechanuto shel nagar, one who enters the store or workshop of the carpenter, shelo bireshut, without permission, v'nitzelo bikat, all right, and there flew up a wood chip, v'tafchalo al panav, and it strikes him on the face, umate, and the person dies, patur. There he said it was not liable. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, it says as follows, Chayav ba'ar b'devarim. He said he was responsible, if we said, for those four things, right? Nezek, tsar, ripui, and shevet. Okay? All right? Wait. We'll get to it in a second. Let's not jump ahead, please. Okay? So it says those four items, dvarim, upatur migalut, and he is exempt from galut. Okay? So the point is, why only those four and not boshet as well? Because boshet is based on being miskavein. There has to be intent for humiliation. Okay? Man de matne la asefa. Says our Gemara, one who teaches it on the end of our Mishnah, Kol Shekain al Reisha. Certainly they teach it applying to the first part of our Mishnah. Uman dematne la aresha. Okay, but the one who teaches it only, I'm going to read in, on the early part of the Mishnah, aval asefa, but regarding the later part, kevan de bereshut, since he entered with the permission, chayav galut, he should be liable for exile. Umi chayav galut, asks the Gemara. All right, can we really say that in this situation, right, that galut is the appropriate punishment? Hatanya, but don't we have another braita that tells us, hanichnas lechanuto shel napach, one who enters the workshop or the store of the welder. Okay, right, that's a different translation. Okay, it's probably Art Scrolls translation. Okay, I had to, right, and sparks flew up and hit the person in the face. V'tafcha lo al panav, umeit, and the person dies. Patur, he's exempt. Va'afilu nichnas b'reshut, even had he entered with permission. Hacha b'may yaskinen. So what are we dealing with here? Beshuya denafche. We're talking about the person who was the apprentice to the welder or blacksmith.
It's Mickey Mouse.
Okay. Shuya denafche lemiktalakay. Can we say that it's acceptable? I'm going to use this language for the welder or the blacksmith to kill his apprentice. Okay. Kisherabo misarhev bo latzeit ve'eno yotzei. It was a situation where his master was urging him, almost pushing him out the door. Okay, and he did not leave. Umishum derabo misarhev bo latzeit lamiktale kai, asks the Gemara. And even if you say that his master was urging him, almost pushing him out the door to leave, is it acceptable that he should kill him? Okay. Kisavur yatsa. It was a situation where he thought he had left, right? Ihachi. Okay. So if that's the case, why do you have to especially say the apprentice? Okay. Acher nami. It could be anyone else as we go now to the top of our daf for today. We'll cover as much as we can, guys. Okay. Acher litle imata derabe. Somebody else wouldn't have the fear of his master. In other words, of his boss. Hi, itle imata derabe. This one, however, the apprentice should have had the fear, the awe, respect, okay, and followed his commands. Okay, all right. We're now on Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph, second line of the Okay. Rav Zavid Mishmei de Rabba Matne La'aha. Rav Zavid, in the name of Rava, taught this Mishnah based on the following. Okay, what was he doing? He's dealing again with the brighter of the forest example. All right, where it says there clearly the word umatza. Right, prat lemamtzi et atzmo, with the exclusion of his finding himself. Mikan amar Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. From here he said as follows: Mi sheyetzta even mitachet yado. A situation where someone threw a rock from his hand, and somebody else, v'hotzi hala et rosho, lifts his head up for some reason. The kibla, it doesn't mean he simply receives the stone, he gets hit in the head with that stone. Patur, the one who throw it, is not liable. He's exempt. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina, patur migalut. He tries to clarify. No, he was exempt from exile. V'chayav ba'arba advarim. But nevertheless, he still is liable in those four things of what we said would be the case. Netzar, rifui, Shevet and Nezek, right? Let's see what the Gemara, how the Gemara handles it. Okay? Man de matne la aha, the one who teaches it in here. Kol shekain akaima, the one who teaches this example, right, of regarding the stone. How much more so on our example of the carpenter? Uman de matne la akamaita. And as regards to the one who teaches it regarding the carpenter, aval aha, but on this Mishnah that dealt with the example of throwing the stone, patur legamre. Others say no, he would be exempt totally, okay, and not simply from galus, right? Okay, we now get to a new Braita, right? This Braita gives us a little different scenario, okay, in terms of what's happening. Poalim sheba'u litboa scharan mibal habayit. You have workers who come to demand their wages from the balabayas, from the worker. Okay, now they could go to a variety of places, okay, to demand their wages. One option is to go to his home. Another option might be, were he to have, for example, an office in town, they could go in town. So let's see what the Gemara tells us now. Okay. And what happened, though, in this particular case, they went to his homestead, right? And doing so, what happens to one of the laborers?
Florida.
Okay. V'nagchan shoro shel bal habayit, and the ox of the owner, let's call him, okay, gores one of the workers. V'nashchan, or it happens, nashchan kalbo shel bal habayit, or the dog, his guard dogs, okay, bite one of the workers. Umate, and the worker dies. Patur, the balabayas is exempt, right? Acherim omrim. However, others, in regards to this situation, say, Risha'in poalin litboas charan mibal habayit, that the workers are permitted to demand their salaries from the work boss, from the owner. Hechidami, how is it possible? Were it such that, let's say, he might have an office in town, just in as example, right? My tama de acherim. What then is the reason of the acherim, the others who say that it's certainly okay to go demand it? And if it's possible that the owner, the balabas, is at home in his homestead, is whatever, my tama de Tanakama. What's the reasoning of Tanakama that said he would be exempt if one of the workers got severely damaged and died? Okay, lo tzricha. No, we need to give both cases. Okay, begavra de shachiach velo shachiach. Why? Because the balabayas is a person who sometimes is in town and sometimes not in town. Vikari ababa, and the workers went and called out from the gate of the hacienda, of the homestead. Va'amar laho, and he said to them, in, yes. But do we know what yes really means? Is the Gemara going to now point out to us? Mar savar in, one master says when he says yes, ol tamashma, come on in, is what he's telling them. Okay? Umar savar in, right? Kuma dachtach mashma. And the other says, yes, stand in your place. Namely, wait there by the gate, and I will come out to you. That's what he's meant. Right? So what happens? Tanya Kamanda Amar in, if we teach it according to the one who says, yes, namely, Kuma duchtach mashma, stand at your place and wait for me at the gate, and I'm coming out to you. The Tanya, as it's taught in the Braita, poel shenichnas litboas charo mi ba'alabayit. One of the workers comes to demand his wages from the balabayas. V'nachos sharo shel balabayas, and the ox of the balabayas gores the worker. O nashcho kalbo, or the dog bites him. Patur, then the balabayas is exempt. Afal pi shenichnas bereshut amai patur. Even though he may have entered his domain of the balabayas, why should he be considered exempt?
Permission.
Right? Right? Why? Because if he said yes, and we understand it to be not to wait at the gate, but giving permission to come in, isn't that exactly like our case, okay, of at least the welder or blacksmith, or maybe even the carpenter, okay? Ella lo dekare ababa, but Ella, right? Like Ella loved dekare ababa. No, wasn't it such that he called to him first at the gate? Like he pressed the buzzer on the door, okay, on the gate, and they
Show your past.
okay, and the things, right? Va'amarle, and he said to him, yes. Ushmamina, and we would learn from this the yes. What does it mean? Kum aduchtach mashma. Stand in your place, wait for me at the gate, and I'll come out.
Does it mean you shouldn't say yes?
It means
When
clarify.
someone rings the bell, you say, I'm coming. You don't say yes.
Say yes.
Right? Okay. Our new Mishnah. Okay. We now come back to animals. Okay. And with regards to the animals, we see the Mishnah is going to deal with two oxen that ideally simultaneously strike each other. Okay? What kind of oxen they are, and what's the relationship that's going to be in terms of guilt. Okay? And guilt. The other element that we're going to see here is what's paid and how is it paid. Okay? Matnitin, says our Mishnah. Shnei shvarin tamim. You have two oxen that are each declared to be tam. Okay? What happens? Shechavlu ze et ze, and they damaged one another. Okay? Mishalmin b'motar chatzi nezek. Okay? They damaged one another, and it pays half damages regarding the difference in their value. Okay? Shnehen mu'adim, if the two oxen are both each considered mu'ad, right? Mishalmim b'motar nezek shalem. Then they must pay full damages regarding the difference. Now we go on. Echad tam ve'echad mu'ad. If one is tam and one is mu'ad, mu'ad b'tam, or one is mu'ad and one is tam, mishalem b'motar nezek shalem. Okay, they must pay again the difference on regarding full damages. Right? Tam b'mu'ad, if it's the tam to the mu'ad, mishalem b'motar chatzi nezek. Okay, then in that case they pay half damages, the difference. Okay, for tam. Right? What happens? V'chein, likewise, shnei anashim shechiblu zeh bazeh. Two people who damage one another. Mishalmim b'motar nezek shalem. They pay, all right, full damages, okay, minus regarding the difference. Remember, because people are always considered mu'ad, right? Okay. Adam b'mu'ad, if a person damages a mu'ad ox, okay, all right, umu'ad ba'adam, or a mu'ad animal damages a person, mishalem b'motar nezek shalem. There again, like the two examples of the two mu'ad oxen, Here we have a muad person and a muad animal. Okay, that tells us nezek shalem, and they pay the difference. Adam betam, a person wounds or damages a tam animal. Vitam ba'adam, or the tam animal damages a person. What happens? Adam betam mishalem b'motar nezek shalem. The person to the tam animal pays, okay, full damages because it's the person who's a muad and pays the difference. Tam ba'adam mishalem b'mutar chatzi nezek. But if the tam animal damages a person, there it pays half damages and the difference. What happens? Gemara, Mishnah continues. Rabbi Akiva Omer, he says as follows, Af tam shechabal ba'adam, even a tam animal that damages a person, mishalem b'motar nezek shalem, should pay full damages minus the difference. The difference. Okay. Now we get to the Gemara. Okay. Amar says the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanim. What do we have? We base it on a pasuk in Shmot, chapter 21, verse 31. Again, I did not have access to Art Scroll. Okay. But but you should be able to see the pasuk there. It says, Kimishpat hazeh ya'aseh lo. Like this law should be done to, I'm going to translate lo as to it, okay, or to him. Question is, what does that to him refer to? Kimishpat, sure, be sure. We understand it to imply, as the example in that section of the Torah says, which is the next verse, like an animal to an animal. Kach mishpat shor ba'adam. So likewise should be the determination between an animal and a person. Ma shor bashor, and here's our drasha, the same way regarding one animal to another. Tam mishalem chatzi nezek, a tam pays half damages, umuad nezek shalem, and a muad pays full damages. Afshor ba'adam. So likewise, we have the animal and the person. A tam mishalem chatzi nezek. The tam pays half damages. Umuad nezek shalem. And the muad would pay full damages. However, the Gemara tells us, Rabbi Akiva Omer, he gives a different shot and a different understanding. Actually, he has a different drasha. Okay, what does he do? He says, wait a second, says Rabbi Akiva. Kamishpat hazeh, when the pasuk cites like this law, okay, or this law for this, what is it referring to? The pasuk that follows, the lower pasuk, velo ke'elyon, and not the pasuk that preceded the situation. Yachol mishalem min ha'aliyah. It's possible that we may have thought that in a situation where it was a mu'ad, in this case, what must he pay? From his best property. May aliyah. Talmud Loma. Therefore, the text tells us, ye'aseh lo. You pay to him, to that which follows it. Follows from it. Namely, migufo mishalem. You pay from the body of the animal. Ve'eno mishalem min ha'aliyah, and you do not pay from the superior quality land. V'Rabbanan, but as far as the rabbis, zeh, the use of the word zeh here, okay, what does it refer to? Lamali, how do they understand it? The potro me arba devarim. To exclude him from those 4 indemnities that we've been saying of nezek, tsari, pui, and shevet. The Rabbi Akiva, what does he do? Where does he find a way of exempting those four requirements. The potro me arbidvarim minale. Where does he find it? Nafkale. He learns it from a different pasuk. Me'ish ki yitain mumba amito. When a person causes a blemish to a fellow person, to another individual. Ish ba'amito, velo shor ba'amito. It applies only when it's a person to another person and not an animal to a person. The Rabbanan, and as far as the rabbis go, ime hahi, if it's from there, hava aminat tsar lechude. I might say there that maybe he should be required in regards to pain. Aval ripui v'shevet, ema litain. But in regards to these other elements, okay, ema litain lay. Maybe he should pay, maybe not. Kamash Malan comes to teach us that he doesn't have. Okay, another new Mishnah. Okay, we keep trying. Shor shaveh maneh. We have a Mishnah that tells us that we have a particular animal, in this case an ox, that's worth 100 manas. Okay? Shenagach shor shaveh, 100 dus. That's what I meant. Okay? All right? Shenagach shor shaveh matayim. And this 100 zuz animal gores a 200 zuz animal. Right? Ve'ein hanavela yafeh klum. And the carcass is worth zip, nothing. Right? No tail at hashor. What does he take? Okay, the carcass of the animal.
The dead animal.
Of the animal that's
Been gored.
The owner of the dead animal that was gored
takes the
live animal, which is half the value of this.
right,
Yeah.
right. That's what I say. He takes the animal. Okay. All right. There's only one animal alive.
Right.
Right.
Okay, that's the point. He takes the animal. Okay. Matnit and mani. That's okay. Right. All right. So who, according to whom is our Mishnah? This Mishnah then? Okay. Rabbi Akiva. It seems to be according to Rabbi Akiva. The Tanya. Okay. Why? Wait. Let's see. Why? Because we have a Braita that tells us as follows. Yasum Hashor, Bebeit Din, Divrei Rabbi Yishmael, that according to Rabbi Yishmael, in such a case, one would have to bring all the information to a Beis Din, and they would have to assess at the Beis Din the value of the animals and determine what the result would be. Rabbi Akiva Omer, Huchlat Hashor. No, according to Rabbi Akiva, the amount is already designated. It's already assigned. B'mai kimipalge, what are they arguing about? Rabbi Yishmael Savar Bal Chovhu. Rabbi Yishmael is of the opinion that the individual is the creditor, right? V'zuzehu demasigle. And what the person who lost his animal is looking for is monetary payment. That's what he assumes. The Rabbi Akiva Sava, but Rabbi Akiva, on the other hand, holds, Shutfei Ninhu. They are like partners, okay? Because there's only the one animal left, okay? And therefore, what happens? You have to divide up the money, okay? Ukimepalge Bahai Kra. And they're arguing then about the following pasuk. Says the pasuk, "Umachru et hashor hachai v'chatzu et kaspo," that you sell the living animal and you divide the money, right? Rabbi Yishmael Savar lebeidina kamizaher rachmana. Rabbi Yishmael is of the opinion that you assign the court to evaluate the damages according to the Torah. Rabbi Akiva Savar, and Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion, Lenizak umazik mizaher laho rachmana, that the Torah was assigning the damaged party and the damager to determine the appropriate amount of payment. My bainayu, what's the difference between them? Hikdisho nizik ika bainayu. The one possible difference is whether the person who the person who is damaged could consecrate the animal. Okay, before anything is done. I mine Rabba. Okay, and therefore Rabba asked the following, Rab Nachman, Machro, Mazik. Okay, if the one whose animal caused the damages sells it. Okay, that could be another difference between the two of them. Why? The Rabbi Ishmael Mahu. For Rabbi Ishmael, what would it be? Kevan da Amar Rabbi Ishmael Baal Chovu. Since Rabbi Ishmael holds that he's a creditor, V'zuzehu demasik lei, and he wants simply the money. Machor, if he sells it, it's one thing. Can he sell it? O Dilma. Or perhaps as we go to the next, all right, and try to continue some more. Okay. Kevan the Mishabed Leila Nizik, because there's already a lien on the animal. Okay. And therefore, there may not be enough money to satisfy the lien. Okay. Right? Lav kol kamine. Okay. Is it not all of it according to him? Amarle, a no machor. He would say to them, then he can't sell it. Vahatanya. But on the other hand, we have a bright that says, machro, if he sells it, machor, it's sold. There, the gova'o. But then that Mishnah tells us that you can go and collect the money for the lien from the purchasers. If you say you can go back and collect it, the lien money from the purchasers, then how can you say that it's truly a valid sale? Asks the Gemara. L'ridei, it was simply for plowing. In other words, he was going to use the animal till he had to deal with it. Shma mina, we learn from this perhaps the following. Loveh, if one loans, umocher metaltalin, and he sells movable property, beidin govin lo mehen, that the court can demand money, loan the money from these metaltalin. Shani hatam, it's different there, says the Gemara. The kiman de asuhu apotiki dami. Why? Because it's like that metaltalin was used, I'm going to use as collateral or a signed payment to cover the debt. Okay? Va'amar Rabba. But didn't Rabba tell us, Asa avdo apotiki umachro, if one assigns his servant, his slave, as collateral and sells him, okay? Bal chov gover himenu, that the creditor can get his money from him. Shoro apotiki umachro. But if he took his ox as the collateral, okay, and designed payment and sold it, ein bail chov gover himenu, then the creditor cannot derive any money from it. Okay. Eved Maitama asks the Gemara, why does that work with the servant, the slave, and not the ox? Mishum de it lekola, because there's publicity. One knows the value of the slave because it's announced in the slave market. All right. But the Gemara says, wait a second. Hainami, here too. Kevan de nakach, since the animal gored another animal. Kala itle, it was front page of the paper, right? The Torah nakha karule, because it was called a goring ox. All right. So what happens? We now get to a new item. Tani Rabbi Tachlifa, Bar Ma'arava, Kame de Rabbi Abahu. It was taught by Rabbi Tachlifa from Eretz Yisrael, before Rabbi Abahu the following. Machro, if he sold it, ein machor, it's not totally sold. Hikdisho, mukdash, if he consecrates it, it is considered valid consecration. Machro man, if he sold it according to whom? Ilema mazik, if we say it was sold by the one who owned the animal that caused the damage. Machro, when sold it, ein machur, it's not sold. Mani, according to whom? Rabbi Akiva. That's the view of Rabbi Akiva. The Amar who chlat hashur, who argued that the amount of money was already assigned, designated.
That the damaged person
Right.
immediately gets the
Right.
ox.
The hikdisho, okay, but if it was consecrated, mukdash eta'en, now we've come to the issue of consecration, the Rabbi Yishmael. That would seem to follow the view of Rabbi Yishmael. The Amar Yusam Hashor B'Beit Din. Yusam Hashor B'Beit Din, who says that the animal is evaluated right by the court. Ela Nizak. So we must say that it's regarding the sale by the one whose animal was damaged. Machro eino machor. But you said it's not a valid sale. Mani, according to whom? Rabbi Yishmael. Okay, that must be according to Rabbi Yishmael. Hikdisho, if he consecrated it, it's consecrated mukdash et tehen la Rabbi Akiva. Then I would come to Rabbi Akiva's view. The Gemara determines le'olam mazik v'divrei hakol. No, we're saying here that it must be the person who is whose animal did the damage, and that must be according to everyone. Machro ain't no machor. When it's sold, it's not validly sold. Afilu the Rabbi Yishmael, even according to Rabbi Yishmael, daha misha abda leila nizak. Why? Because there's a lien on the animal to the one who suffered the damages. Hikdisho, if it was consecrated, mukdash, it's considered consecrated. Afilu Rabbi Akiva, even according to Rabbi Akiva, mishum de Rabbi Abahu, based on the view, sorry, of Rabbi Abahu, the Amar Rabbi Abahu, who says as follows regarding the owner, Gzeira Shema Yomru, Hekdesh Yotzei below Pidyan, that maybe we might say that something consecrated was redeemed, but not appropriately done. Tanu Rabbanan, we'll continue just a little bit more. Okay? Says the Braita, short tongue. We have a tam animal, shehezik, that caused damage, ad shelo amad, okay? Amad badin, before the time that the owner was brought to the court, okay? Machro gets sold. Machor, it's considered sold. Okay? Hikdisho, if it was consecrated. Mukdash, it's considered consecrated. Shchato, he slaughtered it. V'natnu b'matana, and gave it to somebody as a gift. Masha asa asui, what's done is done. Misha amad badin. But if it's a situation where the owner of the animal that caused the damage is brought to court, machro eino machor. No, sorry, it's not sold. Hikdisho eino mukdash, but it's not consecrated. Shchato, he slaughtered it, v'natnu b'matana, and gave it as a gift. Lo asav lo klum. It's as if he did nothing. Kadmo bal chovot v'higbio. If creditors come first and they take what's owed to them, bein chav ad shelo hizik, whether the incident occurred before the animal caused the damage, bein hizik ad shelo chav, or it came after the animal caused the damage, lo asu v'lo klum, It's like nothing was done. The fisha ain mishtalem elami gufo. Why? Because it cannot be paid except from the body of the animal. I'm going to just continue a drop more. Okay? Mu'ad shehizik bein she'amad badin. A mu'ad that caused damage, whether it was when the owner stood in judgment, bein shelo amad badin, or he didn't stand in judgment. Right? Machro sold, machor it sold, hikdisho mukdash, consecrated, it's consecrated. Shchato slaughtered, v'natnu b'marantana, gave as a gift. Masha asa asui, what was done is done. Kadmu ba'al chovot v'higbio, came those who were creditors and collect. Bein chav ad shalo hizik, whether it was before it caused the damage. Bein hizik ad shalo chav, or he caused the damage and then Masha asa asuri, what's done is done. Lefisha ain mishtalem ela min ha'aliyah, because there it's only paid. It's only he has to pay from the land, the important land. And I think we will stop right
I
there.
was learning Arvin
25 years.
Yeah.
as the other things because Nezek is a given in all those cases. It's whether he has to pay the other four. And I believe the Gemara uses Arvin to mean the other four. Now, it's not in every case. I just saw one, maybe.
Well, when it's said that he didn't have to pay bullshit, so doesn't that
No,
mean?
in these cases, he does pay.
Oh, no,
because
yes,
he
in
was
these
negligent.
cases, in these cases.
So
But if it says the other
then
four,
it
it
excludes,
excludes.
no, the other, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but the other four is a idiom for the knasin, because the
It could
nezek
be.
is not a
I didn't
knas.
see
That's how
that.
I learned
I
it.
didn't see it in either. Thank you, Bob. I didn't see it in
Because we
either
had
of
at the
the
very beginning,
sources.